Hello, everybody out there in Paizo land. We are here in the Paizo studios. I am Eric Mona, the publisher and chief creative officer at Paizo, and I'm joined by
Mark Moreland, Paizo's franchise manager.
And we are here to open some miniatures. Mark and I are pretty much the people who make most of the decisions about the Pathfinder Battles miniatures here at Paizo. Our partners at WizKids make probably 50 times as many important decisions, but when it comes to
actually make minis,
and they make the figures themselves, but when it comes to like what figures we want to make, what have people been asking for, getting the feedback of Pathfinder players into it, it's pretty much been the two of us. I started it. Mark is now kind of in the driver's seat and is doing a fantastic job at it. And all along, we've been building these sets with the input from the collector community, the Pathfinder player community, etc. What we've got today to unbox, we're going to do a brick of Legendary Adventures.
Yes.
Legendary Adventures is the first Pathfinder Battles set for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And it's the first set from us in a long time to include huge figures. So we started back in the day with Heroes and Monsters, which is like a very small set. Then we did Rise of the Rune Lords.
Both in terms of count and figure size.
That's right. That's right. And then we did Rise of the Rune Lords, and that was, of course, based on the very first Pathfinder Adventure Path. It had a bunch of huge figures, but then our subsequent sets, we just weren't able to figure out how to get huges in there. And now, happily, WizKids came back to us about a year or two ago and said, what do you guys think about maybe some huge figures in the set?
Yeah, because they've released... There was a time where our minis were really the only randomized...
fantasy figures
figures that WizKids was doing, and so there was a good 2-3 years where they just didn't release non-premium huge figures.
Yeah, we've snuck a few in here and there.
We've put them in as premium figures that you get when you buy a case and so forth. But then they started releasing huges randomized in boosters with some of their other fantasy lines.
Right, and now everything comes home again. So here we are with Legendary Adventures, and there's several huge figures in there, some of which we'll explore today as we unbox them with you guys in real time. I should point out that this is really just a prelude today to the big event, which is happening at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and that is the Pathfinder Crit Arena, where we're going to have people doing super fun critical hit madness starting at 4.
Critical failure.
And critical failure. So it's just it
will be a binary. I don't even know why they're going to roll dice. They should just flip a coin. Is it a critical hit or is it a critical fumble? Every roll will be one or the other.
I don't want to spoil or anything, but I have heard some things, and I think you might be closer to the mark than you might think.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Mark is closer to the mark.
I'm not involved.
So anyway, we'll all be watching that with great excitement. But in the meantime, let's open some figures. Why don't we just kind of get at it? Mark, why don't you take the first box to open? So each box of Legendary Adventures contains four figures. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you're guaranteed to get a large or a huge in every box.
Great.
So you're not going to open up this giant box and get a whole bunch of little minis. You'll get one that's got some heft to it. What do we have here?
Ooh, I see a giant.
There is a giant there.
Excellent.
Toss that over there. So here we've got. Let's move our.
Well, can we get a quick look at the beautiful blue dragon? We put this guy in as a camera test, and he looked so good we decided to keep him. So this here is the huge blue dragon, and that is a size that we have not made prior to this set for a blue dragon.
For a blue,
I don't believe
this is the first.
And so one of my goals since the very beginning of Pathfinder Battles was to have a dragon at each of the canonical dragon sizes. And so for the long time, not being able to do huges was a bit of a challenge to trying to figure that out. So we had the gargantuan one.
It meant that they had to be generally paired with something else.
Right. So we would do
a two huge figure premium set.
We did the white dragon evolution. We did the red dragon evolution, but we never quite got to the blue. So finally, with Legendary Adventures, we got our large blue. But let's get huge blue. Sorry, let's get him out of the way.
And that is a rare figure, which is why it's already unboxed. We already opened the other 3 bricks of this case and wanted to make sure that we showed off as many of the figures as we could. So there's that. So
what'd you get, Mark?
All right, so we got the Fire Giant.
Ooh,
this is
look at him.
Uncommon large figure.
Nice clear plastic effect on the hair. It gives it kind of a flame effect. And then you can see also in this sort of, I don't know if you want to call them veins or whatever that orange is on his body. It almost looks like that kind of cracking lava effect.
Yeah, this was based on on one of the new concept pieces that we ordered. We got some very detailed art during the making of the Pathfinder 2nd Edition Bestiary of some of the key families of creatures. We got, all 10 of the chromatic and metallic dragons
at every age category, which is pretty rad. Yeah.
So folks who are excited about that sort of thing, we have that art. We'll share it at some point.
Well, you know what? Actually, I believe that in the Crit Arena happening later today, they're going to be using the Pathfinder battle cards.
Where
all of the art for every creature that has a stat block in the 2nd edition Pathfinder Bestiary will have a piece of art that is in that set.
Right.
So that's a set of cards. It's got the image on one side and then the stats on the other. And there's quite a lot of art in that didn't fit into the book.
Yeah.
And there's even a couple of pieces where after the book came out, we're like, I think we might be able to do a little bit better. So we've got some alternate
sort of like
art in there as well.
For pawn
yeah,
sets.
and so I think what you'll find is that there's going to be, speaking of pawn sets, these images also appear in the Pathfinder Bestiary pawn set, the first pawn set for 2nd edition.
Yeah,
and some of those images, just like when we go to the Bestiary and we say that'd make a great miniature, some of those images will also appear in Pathfinder Battles as miniatures.
I think so. Yes. Yeah. The better illustration we have, the better we can get. A mini made of it. So
what else have we got here?
We're getting a request for a medium-sized figure as a comparison.
All right.
So here is the second figure in the set, which is the I believe it is called.
I can tell you what it's called. It's called the Armored Elf Soldier.
Yeah.
And here he is fighting off against a fire giant.
He
better be high level. Yeah. He's pretty cool though. This guy's great for if you've got an elf character, he's great for NPCs as well.
It's a common,
so you get a whole bunch of them, like an elven guard or something like that.
If you want to do the Battle of the Five Armies, you've got one of your armies right here.
Right.
And this one also, we have a variant paint job for this one in the Legendary Adventures preview pack, which is the non-randomized preview set that we did of repaints of 8 different figures from the set. So if you want some variety just with this figure, that one's got a little bit more of a metallic paint on the what here looks like leather, looks a little bit more metallic in the preview set.
One of the things we've been trying to do with Pathfinder Battles from the very beginning, and you'll see plenty of evidence of that as we go through the rest of these boxes, is have like groups of characters in each set. So
tribes,
like this one's gonna, for example, this set's got a bunch of goblins, it's got a bunch of orcs, it's got a bunch of bugbears, it's got a bunch of hobgoblins, many of which were creatures that we wanted to put a little bit more design oomph behind in terms of integrating all the goblinoids so that they look of a kind, for example,
like
in 2nd edition. And so, but that's been something we started with Rise of the Runelords back in the day, the second set we ever did. And I think that's been one of the kind of defining things for Pathfinder Battles from the beginning. So for example, if you get a case, it's randomly assorted. So we can't necessarily guarantee you'll get every figure, but that's kind of the idea, is we'd like for you to be able to get.
The collation goal is to get a complete set with a case.
So if you get that, you're going to have like a nice handful of orcs
and even just a brick.
Bugbears.
If someone's keeping count, and we probably should.
We should.
We'll set them aside from the ones we've already opened.
Yeah.
You'll see that even with a brick, you're likely to end up with multiple figures of a tribe. And with this set, because we had so much concept art that first sort of showed up as some of the sketches in the Pathfinder playtest, and then were iterated upon either in the bestiary or the core rulebook. A lot of these are for some of those fantasy staples that we had just gone back to the drawing board, or rather Wayne Reynolds went back to the drawing board for us to sort of just fine tune their designs. And so a lot of these here, I actually realized after doing the set, when it was at the factory being done, I was looking through it to start doing some previews and things, and realized there's not a human in the set.
I think I wanted that. I think that was actually something I was fine with. I noticed that when we were looking at the set.
And it was not intentional.
Because we've done so many humans, and it's just like, we'll get to humans again. Like, there's no question, right?
And the look of our humans didn't significantly change.
Really change.
Our humans have always looked like
like
humans,
us.
like us, yeah.
So, but one thing that I just wanted to kind of finish up that thought. So we've got the tribes, right? And that's really useful because you've got your whole encounter basically in one case or one brick. But that preview pack, because the colorway is slightly different.
Yeah.
I always like when I'm running Pathfinder to have like, oh, there's the commander, there's that one orc who's got the thing or whatever, you know. And so having a slightly different colorway gives you that opportunity as the GM to kind of keep track of which character.
You can say, you know, if you've got your 8 orcs, you can be like, okay, the blue orc runs at you, and the green orc, you know, throws a rock, and the whatever. So let's move on.
Yeah, let's keep going. Let's clear away these guys.
Yep. So next we've got our another tribe member here.
Ooh, I really like this figure.
This is the Orc, I believe, Brawler. Yeah. So the Orc Brawler is wielding 2 new weapons, which we wanted orcs to just have these vicious looking like melee weapons.
Right.
Like not necessarily swords, but just like I think there's 2 different varieties of them in the core rulebook. We've got that one,
the punching dagger kind of a thing.
Yeah, and then we've got another one, and both of those show up here in the set. This is also the
one's called a neck splitter, isn't it?
I think so. It's a
pretty rad name.
And this figure also is one of the first. I believe this one is the. No, it's not. Okay, this set also includes the first orc miniature that I think anyone's ever done of a female orc. I can't think. I know there've been half orcs.
I'm trying to think. I know we did some female bugbears, and I think we might have done one female orc already, but
maybe.
But this is certainly the first 2nd edition female orc.
Yes, it is. Not this particular figure, but yeah. So this one is a common, I believe. Yeah, this one's a common. So you're likely to get a few of those in any set that you do. Oh, set them up there.
And then the last guy is one of the first concept illustrations we got for 2nd edition, actually.
Yeah, in terms of we knew that we wanted to make minis of some of the things that I don't know that there's.
We had not done a shadow, so this is a shadow.
This is actually a greater shadow,
right? Okay,
this is one of those examples of something that's name changed in the book from when we did it. But we got this art in of this super tendrily shadow.
Yeah,
and sent that off to WizKids, and I think what they came up with here is just great.
Yeah, it's really if you look at really cool. Look at it from the back, actually. The side. It's so the idea behind this. There's a handful of creatures that we just never got around. So we did like 16, 17 sets prior to this, and
this is set number 18.
Yeah, and so there's some creatures we just didn't get to because we didn't have the right slot of like a huge, for example,
or we didn't have the right reference,
or we didn't have great reference. And the shadow is kind of a good example of that because it really presents an interesting challenge for a 3-dimensional, production of like, what does a shadow look like on the game table? We could have done kind of a flat, see-through guy, but that looked like it's a little high chance of being really corny, you know?
Yeah.
And so we wanted to have something that had that kind of spindly, scary kind of approach. So
just like
a little bit of a non-standard take on the shadow, but I'm pretty happy with it.
I think it looks pretty good.
I would like to open the next box. Or do we have one more figure? We did
that's it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And
which was the other one?
That one.
This guy. Okay. Yeah. So the elf. All right. Can I grab a box?
Yeah.
All right. So Mark, what was your favorite, while I'm doing that, what was your favorite part about building this set list?
I think that it was, because I inherited the set list creation from you and Michael Kenway, who was doing it before me, that some of the fantasy staples had already been done.
Right.
It was like, oh, I really want to, try and find a really cool, fire giant art. I was like, well, we've already done the fire giant.
Right.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll find something more obscure. Right. And part of that was fun, but it was also fun just to get to look through the, monster list for the bestiary and say, oh, now would be a great time for us to go back to some of those basics. So it was getting to work on those.
All right, so let's get into what we've come up with here. The first figure is number 19 of 44, and this is the Dwarf Rogue. So we've got a pretty cool looking Dwarf Rogue. This is based off of a Wayne Reynolds concept illustration,
which was just black and white sketch.
Yep. So we brought Wayne in about a year before we put out the playtest for second edition. Maybe I think maybe more like 18 months.
Yeah.
And started kind of really hammering down what the look of some of our ancestries were going to be. And Dwarf was one that we put a lot of work into. So the Harskar iconic Dwarf from first edition has always been a keystone of the Pathfinder brand. But one of the things I wanted to make sure is when you looked at a Pathfinder dwarf, you could tell it was a Pathfinder dwarf. Part of what makes a dwarf is like hewing to tradition, right? They've got the dwarf, they've got the beard, and they have a hammer, or they have an axe or whatever. So you can't go too far afield, but you want to have some elements that are visually distinctive.
So that if someone does a Google search for dwarf, and a bunch of things pop up, they can say, "Oh, that's the dwarf from The Hobbit, and that's the dwarf from Pathfinder, and that's the dwarf from Time
World of Warcraft or whatever." Yeah. And so, and yet again with dwarf, it's like so conservative in some ways in terms of like what it is that it's a bit challenging.
If you go too far afield,
it's not a dwarf anymore.
It's not a dwarf.
And so we, with Wayne's help, we went through about 3 or 4 different iterations, and that's where stuff like the clan daggers that dwarves get now come from. All the dwarves have that sort of somewhere on their outfit. We talked a lot of what patterns dwarves use. We talked a lot about dwarven equipment.
Shapes.
Yeah, exactly.
And so and they also he sort of standardized their face shape as having more of a square face with and a square nose, a flatter square nose.
Right. So this dwarf here, the Dwarf Rogue, is another thing too, is that we have been with a lot of our non-human ancestries, we've been looking at sort of breaking some of them down into different cultural groups as well. And so we had not, previous to this set, done a dwarf with a sort of a deliberately kind of darker skin tone, and that was one of the opportunities.
Other than Duergar, and there's...
Well, yeah, dark gray. That's a different deal. But so, so we just want a little more variety in terms of the types of characters that you can play. And then in some cases, that gives us opportunities to do repaints and things like that as well.
Yeah.
So this is a Dwarf Rogue, figure number 19.
So that's an uncommon.
Yep. Next up, we have a common. This is number 6 out of 44. This is the Hobgoblin Soldier. So Hobgoblin was one of those creatures that we wanted to make sure looked of a kind with goblins. I would say between the 3, Goblin, Hobgoblin, and Bugbear, over the course of first edition, Hobgoblin's the one that kind of flowed back and forth a little bit, never really quite locked in the same way that like the Ogre did the first time Wayne did an Ogre illustration. It's like, that's a Pathfinder Ogre, right? So this was our opportunity to really get in there and make the Hobgoblins distinctive. So they still have a very martial look to them. They're more often than not, they're going to be in an army or something like that. So here we have the armor and all that, but also importantly, and you'll see this in a fair number of miniatures in this set, it's got a shield. So shields are a big part of Pathfinder 2nd edition in a way that they've never been before. And this is, you'll see that on some of these figures as well.
And if you look closely at that, turn that shield back around, that's the symbol of Oprak.
Oh,
that's on the shield.
The Hobgoblin Nation that we have introduced.
Yeah, the Hobgoblin Nation that they founded in the wake of the first edition, spoiler, Iron Fang Invasion. AP.
Yep.
So while standard goblins have more of a green or gray look to them, hobgoblins are more purple, and then bugbears are furry, so they
a different color, and stuff like that.
Different color, but they all now have more of that football-shaped head and things like that.
So that is our Hobgoblin Soldier. We'll put him over with the other pile. Here, this guy is really fun, and I'm excited to have him in there. Another one based on a Wayne Reynolds illustration. This is our Gnome Soldier. A little bit hard to tell because he's such a wee little lad here, but he's got a nice little pointy beard, a pointy hat. We one of the things we like about gnomes, just kind of harkening back to their sort of pre-Pathfinder, existence. Like we love the pointy hat. That's like that's a gnome staple, and even some of their helmets and stuff have that kind of approach to them with Wayne. And
without being full garden gnomes.
Right. It's not David the gnome.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
a gnome flying on a bird would be pretty cool.
That would be cool, but it's like if a gnome with the name David or something like that slips through, then I have not. I've probably not read that manuscript before it went to print because I don't really dig that kind of thing. All right, so anyway, this is our Gnome Soldier. Makes a great player character. This is number 35, so he's going to be a rare.
Yeah.
So he's a small rare, and he's really cool. There's quite a lot of detail on here that's a little bit difficult to pick up on camera, but we think you'll like him a lot.
Yeah, and his armor, if you look closely at it, if you've got it in hand, looks cobbled together from multiple different pieces. And then he's got that purple look to it, which the intention was that was like him painting this armor that he cobbled together from a bunch of different sets. He painted it purple with these weird spirals and things so that it would look of a set.
Right.
Even though it's not.
And it just like makes it that much more Paizo. It's purple.
It is purple.
Right. Okay, so then the large that we got in that set is a Pteranodon. This is number 25. So this guy is going to be your large in this set. He's going to be an uncommon, which is great because a case will get you probably about 3 of these guys, maybe a little bit more, depending on the breakdown, I would assume.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can have a nice little flock.
This is an uncommon. So so this one you should end up with a handful of them if you're opening a case.
Right. So this guy, and just like I'll put our friend the gnome back on here to get a sense of the size there. So this guy's Pteranodon. You can use him for pterodactyl. You can use him for all kinds of different prehistoric
he's
flying
big
menaces.
enough that he could pick that little gnome up and carry him off to his nest.
Exactly.
To his babies.
You know, you could even use this guy if you wanted to as kind of like a Mondo boss Bloodseeker Sturge sort of a creature.
Man, a large
cool.
Bloodseeker would...
All right, so I think, Mark, that means you are up. It's your turn to open a thing, or
let's give one away.
Yeah, why don't we give one so that they can get it themselves?
Yeah.
So we're gonna take one of our booster boxes with the 4 miniatures in it. Mark will be sure to pick a really good one, and we're going to give it away. And so, if you would like to win this, our producer Peyton will select from someone who types in all lowercase !PF Battles. So type that in if you want this. Type it in, type it in, type it in.
Here it comes.
Oh my gosh.
1 entry per person.
So 1 entry per person. Sure. Okay, so while we are sorting through
while that's going through, we'll just set this one off to the side.
Yeah, don't accidentally open that's not our miniature anymore.
That's not ours.
Yeah.
No, we want to make sure ours all come from the same brick. So I'm going to open this one.
Cool.
Does
that feel heavy?
This is heavy.
Ooh.
Like look the heft of this.
Ooh. There's some good figures in here.
Compared to this one?
Yeah, that one's lighter.
It's lighter.
Yeah.
So this one, in each brick I open, there's the one really heavy one.
Okay.
And so let's see what this is.
There's some pretty cool heavy figures in this set. There's some cool figures in general, but the heavy figures, there's a couple of good ones. Really good ones.
Is it the one I think it is?
I don't know.
I've opened enough of these at this point that
while Mark's opening that, I guess I'll say one other thing. So this is the first set for second edition, but there are a couple of figures that we always wanted to get to at first edition that we never got a chance to get in. And in part, the addition of huge figures in this set has given us the opportunity to do that. And in fact, the figure you just pulled out is a great example. So let's throw that on the thing while we unbox the rest of that.
There's nothing there, right? I'm not going to.
Nope, you're good. You're good. So this is our dragon turtle. He is full of meat and he is really neat, and he is got a clear blue sort of water jet that he's emerging from, presumably the ocean. I certainly hope he's not emerging from a lake or a puddle. That would be a real disaster.
We have some big lakes.
Yes.
I bet you could get one of those in Lake
You probably
Carson.
could. Yeah, you could.
I don't know how he got there. Swam up the Selwyn River as a little guppy. And
so this figure, at least at the time we made it in the set list, had never ever been done in pre-painted plastic before. A huge dragon turtle. I think it still hasn't until this set. So this is one we've wanted to do for a long time, and it's a very, very cool figure. He's got a nice spiky shell. This water effect is spectacular on the base. Really happy with this figure.
If you look at the back of his shell, if you turn him around,
he's got water kind of pouring
sort of
down,
cascading off his shell. Like
that.
He's jumped out of the water so fast that he's got those little rivulets going.
WizKids does such a great job with that clear plastic. I remember when we first had an opportunity to add that into the set, I was very, very excited, and they've developed it to really a state of the art. You know, the first of these clear plastic figures I ever remember seeing were actually back from WizKids back in the Mage Knight Knight era. There were these like green
Yeah.
sort of crystalline characters, and I was like, what a cool thing.
Yeah.
And now we've done so many of them, elementals, different sort of translucent
it used
creatures.
to be that
so
you'd get an
cool.
elemental, and an air elemental was just like
we're just
it
white.
was white
Yeah.
and maybe some blue.
Yeah.
It looked like a elementary school eraser.
Right.
But, yeah.
So, and I just love the facial expression on that guy. You know, one of the things that's so cool about the huge figures is that it gives us the opportunity to really get a lot of expression and detail that otherwise is lost in some of the smaller figures. We would like to congratulate the user Golemites. Golemites has won the booster.
Great name. I hope that's a Paizo Golemite that you've got there. But you'll notice that expression is his gaping mouth is big enough to fit that little gnome in there. So he could probably fit a medium figure as well. He doesn't stay there.
Do you suppose it's Golemite, like Dolomite?
Maybe.
Let us know in the chat. That's clever. Okay.
All right. Well, let's keep going.
Yeah, let's go.
We've got a lot of these to go. So congratulations. We'll be giving away more boosters soon. Golemite, if you can send a DM to official Paizo, then Peyton will get all of your contact information to get that
miniatures,
to you. And may you draw the figures you're looking for from it.
Right. What else have we got from your
all right
pack?
So we got another one of the Hobgoblin Soldier. So already out of the
we're halfway to an encounter.
You've got a second one here. So you'd be able to make an encounter with 2 of those.
Cool.
And then we've got our Gnome Rogue. This is
a wee little thing.
I think I have her backwards.
You do?
No, I don't. There she goes.
There she is.
Okay. And again, we went with the colorful, the pointy hat. This is a rogue, but she's got a quarterstaff. She could just as easily
you can make her spellcaster, bard, any number of different things.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a pretty versatile figure. And yeah, I
mean, look, a lot of these figures are going to proxy for something else. You know, even I, who has literally every Pathfinder Battles figure that we have ever made, I can't always make every single encounter the way that I want to make it. So, consider it official permission from Paizo if you would rather that the gnome, what is he, the gnome, or she the gnome rogue, if you would rather that be the gnome alchemist or the gnome bard, or it's okay. You can do that.
It's good. Yeah,
you can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next one, because here now we have a goblin for realsies, a real Pathfinder goblin.
Yeah, this is the horse chopper, I believe.
Yes, goblin horse chopper.
Yeah.
Of course, that's the name of these big pole arms that the goblins
This is hyphenated horse chopper. This is the goblin who chops
horses. This is the goblin who chops horses. He happens to have a horse chopper.
Yes. Yeah.
But yes, the hyphen does mean that he is the one who's chopping horses.
Correct. That's your grammar lesson for
good.
the stream.
Yes, so this is a really amazing sculpt on this guy. It's kind of hard to see, but the facial features on this thing are spectacular.
Yeah,
I really,
for a common, especially, that's just,
and you can see. I don't know if it's gonna come across on the camera here, but you can see one of his eyebrows is kind of cocked up, and there's like a real interesting expression. WizKids has come in almost 20 sets from the very beginning. We were really thrilled with their first set, but they keep getting better and better in terms of the fidelity of the sculpts, in terms of just the kind of the neat tricks that they can pull off. I'm just astounded by the level of quality. They are raising the bar, and when they are the world's industry leader in pre-painted plastic already, they're raising the bar on themselves, which is, I think, really impressive.
Yeah, they could just phone it in and be like, who's going to compete? Who else is going to do
right
minis for us? Right. And
but they just keep innovating, keep pushing forward.
One of the great things about the hobgoblins and the goblins in the set is that they now that we've released the Lost Omens character guide, you have ancestry information to play a hobgoblin.
That's right.
So these can act as both your PC or a GM can use them as an enemy. So if you are playing a goblin as a PC, you could use any of the goblins in this set to be your PCs. And yes, that goblin horse chopper that we just showed off, that is a
weapon in the.
This one might be an uncommon 14. I'd have to double check. There
It's
are
right on the cusp.
Yeah, there's a few of them are, and actually, I think this one is an uncommon because it's the exact same sculpt, but as the Goblin Dog Slicer, which is Goblin with his hands in a similar position but holding a dog slicer instead,
which is kind of like the sword version of the same
weapon. So it's a weapon swap, but I think the horse chopper is the uncommon version now that I think about it.
I just busted a very interesting box because we are now heading toward being able to have some even more viable encounters just out of the first couple of boxes we've got. And so let's take a look at first. This is the Orc Battler.
Yeah.
This is the female orc figure that Mark was talking about earlier. So just by comparison, we can put her brother right up here. And so these guys come from the same concept art push that we were talking about with Wayne Reynolds, getting the orcs locked down, the look for them. This figure, I think both of these figures, but certainly the female figure also appears in the preview set.
Yes.
So you can get a different colorway.
I believe it's
there.
one of the ones with the charging ones that's in the preview set.
Oh, do you mean one like this? So this is the other orc that I just got in the set. So
and
this one's got a real dynamic
bladed
look.
The last one had
I have already put it up there, my friend.
Oh, yes, you
These
did.
three,
So you can see the two different fist weapons that they've got there with those. And then we've got another orc in the set, which is the rare Orc Warlord or War Chief.
He is called the Orc Warlord.
Warlord.
I think he's got a different name in the bestiary because we changed it the last minute. But so he's got a banner coming off of his back. He's got this sweet, little, he could be a bard, he's playing a horn. He's got a nasty club.
He's blowing bubbles.
This is a very, very cool figure.
Yeah, and we had already opened that one, so I wanted to make sure that we showed it alongside them. But there we've opened in four boosters we got 3 different orc sculpts, and then we've added the.
Right, and there's more to come. So this guy was from this thing. We'll put him over. This guy was from an earlier set, so we'll push him. These 2 orcs go back to our pile. And then look at what else we got. Look here. It's another hobgoblin. So here we have a hobgoblin archer. This figure, I want to point out something kind of subtle on this figure because when I was unboxing these myself for the first time, this was one that really blew me away. It's a common, I believe. It's a 13, so yeah. But take a look, and I hope you can get this. Yeah, you can definitely get it on the camera. Look at the wood grain on the back of this guy's shield, or really the front of the shield that's on his back. It is very,
it looks like it's made of wood.
It is very well done. I think that might be the best sort of dry brush wood effect that we've gotten in Pathfinder Battles since the beginning.
I think so.
And so this is a very, very cool.
The only other thing that I can think that compares to that are like the tabletops.
The wood golem was pretty cool. Yeah. But this is very, very, very well done. And it just is a testament to even the commons look great.
And just his pose, you could see a whole row of these.
Right.
Like archers forward, the regimented hobgoblins would have the very
I predict that it's going to get better. But here again, after 4 boosters, we have 3 hobgoblin figures.
Yep.
Right. So we are getting close to being able to just run a totally legitimate hobgoblin encounter, orc encounter, just out of 1 brick of these minis.
Yeah.
So
and we
really
have a
exciting.
question. Someone was asking what collector number the Orc Warlord is. It's number 37 of 44.
Yep. Okay, one more figure in this set, and it's a sentimental favorite around these parts. It's the Yeti. So we've got the traditional sort of Sasquatchian pointed head on these guys.
Yep.
We have done a couple of different types of Yetis in Pathfinder before. In fact, I think this is the 3rd look for Yetis. There was
we did the Yeti and the Sasquatch.
Well, but bear with me here.
Okay.
And if anyone's going to correct me, Mark, it's you. So here's my memory of Yetis.
Okay.
Yetis first appear on the ascent up the mountain in Spires of Zinshalast.
In the
Rise of the
Rune
Lords.
Of the World article.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And that guy, for lack of a better term, had kind of a Muppet look to him with big sort of lemur-like
it was animal
eyes. It's pretty cool. Then Wayne Reynolds did the cover for Ultimate Magic. one of the books.
Oh, they looked almost like gorillas in that.
Yeah, and those were like his take on the Yeti. Now we're kind of like having done the Sasquatch and having James Jacobs, our resident cryptid sort of obsessive expert, you know?
Like, no, this is what
a Yeti really looks like. So everyone out there will be happy to know that the current Yeti look is the James Jacobs approved. This is what Yetis really look like.
Yeah. So, if you go to Nepal, and this is not the time of year that I recommend going to Nepal.
I mean, it's cold, sure.
Yeah.
I suppose. It's always cold.
Well, it's getting colder.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, look at this Yeti. He's pretty rad. All right, Mark, it's your turn.
Okay, and while I'm opening this one, why don't you open another one? Because we're getting well past halfway. And
that's right. All right, guys. Just a quick reminder, we're going to be doing another giveaway soon. Make sure you have Whispers enabled on Twitch so that our producer Peyton can get in touch with you and get you what you need.
And we can only ship to North America and Europe. So if you are a customer in another part of the world, these are available for you to purchase, but we're not able to ship you free copies. So apologies to anyone left out of that.
I am liking this booster, but it's your turn.
Oh, I'm supposed to open mine first?
I mean, we should switch off, right? I don't want to hog all the glory.
Here I was talking. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to start on this one with the large.
Oh, man. That's so exciting, Mark.
Yeah. This one
exciting.
I really love. This was another piece of... Oh, are we doing another giveaway now? We are. Oh, okay.
Hey, we're doing
it was live.
Let's us be quiet. So we're doing a giveaway, right?
Yeah.
Exclamation point Pathfinder Battle or PF Battles, and Peyton will choose someone. So if you just got in late, it's not necessarily that you're out of luck. So we'll let that run for just a second, and let's jump back to the Chimera because there's so much to talk about with this figure.
Yeah. So this figure, one of the it's another one. This comes from mythology. There have been so many different takes on it. And one that we really wanted to emphasize with this was that it is three creatures that are cobbled together, that are magically fused into a new being. And so our concept artist, this one, the monster concepts weren't Wayne. It was just
some of them, and most of them weren't. They were different artists.
Came back with this one, and you'll notice that it's like its legs. One of its legs is from the dragon body, and one of them is from the lion body, and just the detail on this thing's wings.
So I'm
that's going off the tape.
So happy with this figure. I'll rescue him. So this guy, there's a lot of things that you don't know before you join the professional role-playing game industry, and one of those things I didn't know is just how difficult it is to make a miniature of a Chimera. Holy moly. This is our third Chimera. The first Chimera was in the very first set. It was by far the most problematic figure in that set. We went through numerous iterations of it, and it turned out okay.
It didn't look the way we
turned out okay. Then we did a set called Reign of Winter, and there was another sort of variant Chimera.
Frost one that had like
and it looked real good.
A white cat and a white dragon.
But it had like a snow leopard head.
Yeah.
So it was very situational. It wasn't quite, it was a well-executed figure, but it wasn't a well-executed mainline Chimera.
Yeah,
right?
It would look weird if you ran into that anywhere that wasn't covered in snow.
Right. So the thing about Chimeras, let's just go through the ways that you can ruin a Chimera figure really quickly. They have three different heads.
Yeah.
Are the heads pointing in interesting directions? Did you make the right choices of which creatures to put on the heads? Are the sizes of the heads relatively interesting and relative to one another? Now let's take a look at its back. Is there just a line down its back where all of these various parts meet together? Do the colors blend together well? I think they've done an excellent job here with that as well. So if you compare this figure to the previous Chimera that we've done in Pathfinder Battles, this one is the best.
This is
by
what we
far,
were aiming for the first time.
Because of the difficulty of making Chimera figures, which is a difficulty I've lived with now for like 10 years. I am so happy with how this guy came out.
Yeah.
He is the best Chimera figure in my collection. So I'm very, very happy. So it's still
it's an uncommon large, so you might end up with multiples of those. This is our first bugbear that we've opened this set. He's got sort of a grayish grayish fur, but he's still got that same footballish head.
He does have a necklace of human ears.
He does.
I think it's important to point out.
Yeah.
At least I think they're human. Maybe they're pointed.
Fashionable.
Right.
Yeah.
He knows how to accessorize.
Yeah.
This guy, so the idea with bugbears, they didn't change that much, but like you said, they did get that kind of more flattened football head that makes them look more like the goblins. I'd say their ears were elongated just a little bit to match that as well. And then they've got this kind of like looming sort of bruiser kind of. James Jacobs, our creative director, really wanted them to be kind of scary, to be kind of like a boogeyman.
They're the
sort of an
boogeyman,
element.
exactly.
Yeah.
And while a skinny thing appearing out of the shadows behind you is scary, a big thing that got there silently without you hearing it is
even scarier. Now that being said, there is, and I'm going to jump ahead to one of the figures in my set, my box really quick, because here we have another bugbear. This is a female bugbear, so she's a little bit skinnier than the male. Maybe also maybe this one's more of a brute or a warrior, and this is more of a rogue or something along those lines.
I think that one's called the skulker.
This one is called the bugbear mauler. So she's very, very cool as well. And you can see there's a variation in fur color tones and stuff within the bugbears. That's something that this figure in particular is also in that preview set with a different colorway.
Correct.
So you get some options.
Get
some options
color.
there. Yeah.
And I don't know, can I spoil one of the promo figures
that
came from this? We've also got a Wickawack coming soon.
Yes.
Which we had all these bugbear figures, and I thought, what are we going to do? And I thought, well, let's. One of the first pieces of web fiction that we did for Pathfinder 2nd Edition was Harsk fighting some Wickawacks.
Awesome.
So while we don't have stats for them yet, we will have a mini that will be coming out in sometime in the next
year.
Either
at PaizoCon, Gen Con.
Yeah,
just find us out in the wild somewhere, and there's a good chance we'll hand you
and it'll probably eventually be on Paizo.com as well. So we have a winner for our second giveaway.
Hey-o!
And that is Rackerman 3.
Rackerman 3. Congratulations,
so
Rackerman.
Make sure that you have have whispers enabled and get in touch with Peyton, and he will get all of your shipping info.
So just to be clear, Mark, the Wickawack is the Arctic version.
It is. And that's based on Native American or
Inuit.
That's based on real world mythology. So we'll have that figure coming soon. I got another one of the
oh, great.
Orc Battler.
Very useful.
Yep. So that is our 4th orc from this set. And last I got the Elf Ranger.
Oh yeah, perfect. This is a common, right?
This is.
Or is it an uncommon? It's got a weapon swap.
It's uncommon.
Okay.
This is 24B of 44. 24.
Oh, here, look. Here he is.
Yep. And there's the other one. So
and here is the weapon swap. This is 24A, already opened. So you can get a look. This is basically fundamentally the same sculpt on these two figures, but one of them has 2 swords and the other one has the bow and arrow.
Yeah, and you can see that really they're in the same pose. The hands are in the same place, and WizKids just does a great job of making it easy for them just to
couple of arm swaps.
Yep. When they're assembling the figure and make 2 different figures. So
you know what? This is so interesting. Something I just noticed. So here in this figure, you've got the bow and arrow, right?
Yep.
This figure has got on its back the same quiver that this guy has, only on this guy the bow is attached to it as well. And so they're not just swapping out the arms, they're swapping out that quiver piece.
He's actually got the 2 swords.
Oh yeah,
in the bow version as well. That may not have made the final. I know it was something that we looked into doing, but I think they would have had to replace more pieces.
Well, anyway, I'm impressed by the number that they did replace, because these are very high utility figures. Again, perfect for a player character, ranger, something like that. But also you're gonna get a handful of these in a case. So they could be the Elven Guard. They could be
you stray into Elven lands you're not supposed to be in. These are the guys that pop out of the trees.
Exactly. Yeah. They're definitely gonna be using stealth on their initiative. Okay. Exactly, yes. So that is the elves. Now let me.
One of these came from.
Oh yeah, that's right. From here. So let's go back. Okay, one more orc. Boom. From my pack. This is another one of those hard charging orcs. There's a couple of different variants. You can see here are the 2 variants again of kind of the same sculpt. So these are figures number
one has bronze
15
and one has more of a,
and this is figure number 2. So these, unlike the other ones which have the A and B, these ones are just 2 different figures.
Yeah.
So.
Peyton, we're getting questions. People are asking how much for a case. Can you post you got it? Okay. Peyton will be posting a link to Paizo.com where you can purchase that.
And you can also subscribe to Pathfinder Battles on Paizo.com as well.
And that way, when we release our next set, and we're just finalizing with WizKids our approvals on those figures, so they should be announcing it soon. It's a really good
got
set.
humans.
It's got a lot of humans.
Yeah. And it will tie into a major release next year that we've already have announced. Multiple major releases.
So when the next set comes out, you don't have to worry about, pre-ordering it at your local game store. We will just ship you the case, or however many cases you order. You can order as many as you want.
Right. Of course, if you've got a local game store that works for you, we'd be just as happy to support them as well. Yeah. So let's jump forward to a couple more figures, and I've got a couple of really interesting ones. And this one is one of my favorite figures in the set, and I don't know how well it's going to translate because it's so dark. So I'm going to put it more against this. You know what? I'm just going to hold it like this and see if you can tell. Wait, let's do this. Beautiful, beautiful. This is a white. It is a very cool figure. It's got red eyes that are just glowing out, and it's got different shades of darks. So you've got a dark brown, you've got a dark black. This thing is really, really, really a cool looking figure and a cool looking pose. And just like always, you do not want to be touched by a white.
Yeah.
Okay, and then speaking of really nasty things that you probably don't want to be touched with, this guy is kind of a fun. We threw this guy in for fun. This is the Ashen Man. This is the main enemy in the Doomsday Dawn playtest adventure.
Yep.
So we were working on that adventure when we were working on this set list. We wanted to have kind of a big bad guy, and that adventure was kind of designed in some ways to provide a story transition between first and second edition. So we thought he'd be a fun inclusion here.
I double checked with James Jacobs before we put it on the set list to make sure that, hey, is this a guy who might come back in second edition?
He'll be back.
And James was like, oh yeah.
Yes.
So
he's all tied up with the dark tapestry. He's bigger than your average character.
Yeah,
so let me
large.
throw a elf in here. So he's a large guy, right? Yeah. His face is made up of the same billowing kind of smoke effect that you see on the base. Yeah, I guess it's ash. And he's kind of a stand-in for any really powerful sort of supernatural enemy who your party might face.
And if you look at the end of his staff, that is a heart.
It's a heart
that is like strung up by its arteries,
sort of twigs and arteries. Yeah, and just really, really gross,
like a dream catcher, but made out of a heart. That one is great, and that is a rare.
Yeah, and I'd like to call attention to a specific technique here. And those of you guys who've been following Mark's blogs or who have been collecting pre-painted miniatures know what I'm about to say. But one of the ways they're able to get this amazing sort of detail work done on the hood and on the front, that's actually a stamp. It's called a tampo. And so what they'll do is, like, the figure will be going through its production phase, and then they basically stamp that on to the figure. Yeah. And so that allows you to get like really precise line work in the figure.
That with the gold filigree on Razmir's cloak in the previous set.
Yep.
And we've used it for
Kira's cloak was really the first time when WizKids blew us away with their capabilities.
Amazing figure.
And they've done that, I think, 2 or 3 more times since, and they just keep getting more and more impressive. So that's the Ashen Man. Rare, large.
And those usually you'll see those in rarer figures just because it's that extra paint step.
Yep.
That,
a little more expensive to produce.
But at the same time, the tampo is what made the Oprak symbol on the common Hobgoblin sheet.
So sometimes they're just as simple as this little no problem, just as simple as this little 3
we're still here
white dots, right? So it doesn't have to be super elaborate, but it adds a lot of value
a lot of the time as well. Facial features.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm opening up my next one. We've got this one and one more.
You know what? I better grab that other one because we're
running out of time.
You get us talking about minis, Mark, and it's hard to get us to shut up.
Oh my gosh. It's almost like it's our job and our passion. Okay.
Oh, hey, look at this.
Yeah.
Speaking of figures that we've wanted to do for a while. I'm
going to start, though.
Oh, I like this guy.
With that one. If you could set that one up for me.
Very cool. It's another bugbear, you guys.
It's another bugbear. This one's got more of a tan colored complexion, but he's, again, the big hulking brute. He's got these hooks. They look like meat hooks. that he can use. And just imagine, they had originally done these backwards in the sculpt. And, and I was talking with James Jacobs about it, and I was like, how would you use this the other way? And he was like, you just underhandedly, you cut up from the bottom.
Right. It's like a rip.
Yes, exactly. And that visual was enough for me to say, hey, WizKids, you want to flip those hooks around?
Yeah. Okay, there's our bugbears.
Yep, and that one is, let's get the number in.
All right.
That's number 39 of 44, so it's another rare. This one's called the Bugbear Butcher, and you do not want to know what kind of meat he butches.
He butches.
He butches, yes. Here we have another goblin.
Oh,
this is,
I believe
the Goblin Guard. You'll notice his armor.
Goblin Guard, that's exactly right.
Yeah. His armor, he's got like almost like a turtleneck collar that goes up over his mouth. That was a thing that when Wayne was doing his concept art for us that he did, and I don't think we'd ever seen those before, but they all look sort of like this cardboard cosplay style, they put this together from
they just kind of cobbled it together. It's like their version of a gorget.
We'll just wrap ourselves in it.
Yeah.
And so we've got him. He's got his horse chopper there, or her horse chopper, I guess.
Could be a female. Goblins don't grow a lot of hair,
they
so
don't grow
it's
hair,
hard to
so
tell.
You can't tell them apart sometimes. And the final figure in this is the first one of this tribe that we've opened today is.
Wow.
The Kobold Scout.
There's quite a few kobolds.
And this was another creature that got sort of a redesign by Wayne Reynolds.
Although this one is actually not based on the Wayne Reynolds illustration.
It's a little bit different.
It's a little bit different. So there's actually two illustrators who worked on kobolds, and they're not quite exactly the same, but they're similar. Meant to be enough variety within kobolds.
They've got a flatter head. They look a little bit less dragon-like and more salamander-like.
Yeah, they're pretty fun.
They've got the little,
People seem to like these guys. He's got a little hand crossbow and a knife. So that's a kobold.
Yep.
There's at least a couple more of those in this set.
Yep. Okay. And now we're on to the last.
You got this guy.
Oh, yeah, no. And then our large figure from this one is actually a huge, and it is the Algolthu.
Algolthu.
This is the Algolthu Master.
Yes. So we did a Veiled Master before. That's about as close as we've gotten. This creature is known by other names in some other games, I suppose. But we use Algolthu as the kind of family name of all these types of eldritch ancient evils.
Yep. And these are the creatures that are responsible for Earthfall. They're like, in ancient times,
bring down the Star Stone
to destroy humanity.
Right.
And so this is an uncommon huge. So you should end up with a few of these if you're opening a case, and
that is a terrifying prospect for your player characters. That is for sure. Yeah. Okay, so are we down to our final?
We're down to our final booster.
Wow!
And then we can show off some of the figures that we didn't open in this one.
Oh, look at this! Here is another kobold. So we get beginnings of a new tribe just right here in the last two packs. This guy is called the Kobold Scalecaster. So he's a little bit of a spellcaster. He's got a neat looking staff, and he's got he's casting a spell. You can actually see a little bit of crackling energy coming off of his hand there, and he's got a really nice blue tone to him. The idea behind the kobolds is they all share one of the colors of the chromatic dragons. You should have 5 different varieties of those. That, of course, gives us some neat opportunities for repaints and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the promo figures that we've got from this set as well.
Hey, look, it's another orc. This is a very, very good sort of standard orc figure. Yeah. Really, really nice definition to the sculpt. Lots of details there. He's got a real kind of interesting lanky body shape that's sort of new to the Wayne redesign of these orcs. Very happy with the way he looks.
Almost helmet-like forehead.
Yeah. Like, you don't want to get headbutted by these guys.
No.
That would really hurt.
No.
And here's another interesting thing. What's this on the orc's back? Why, it is, if I can stop fumbling it, it is a quiver of javelins. Javelins are one of those weapons that are always in a stat block, but almost never on a figure. So finally, we've got an orc with the javelins. And so before I get to the last couple of figures, I do think it's worth pointing out, like, this in 8 boxes of Pathfinder Battles minis, we've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 orcs.
But only 2 of any single figure.
Exactly. no more than a doubles. And in fact, these that look like doubles aren't actually doubles. So
because they've got different.
You've got these are doubles and these are doubles. So you've got 6 orcs. Boom, right off the bat. That's from 1/4 of a case.
Yep.
So that is impressive. I mean, you don't need that many more orcs, honestly,
No.
if you're cool with proxying every once in a while. Now, of course, if you're like me and you've got a horde of orcs, I always want more orcs and more goblins and stuff like that. So that is really a nice handful of orcs. 2 more figures on this set, and then we can reveal some of the just awesome dudes that we knew we weren't going to get here. This is, again, I think is a double, but he's probably my favorite goblin in the set. You know, a goblin. This is actually the dog slicer version
of the
horse chopper guy, which is right here.
Yep.
So these are kind of fundamentally built off of the same parts of the same sculpt, but with different weapons and stuff.
Yep.
So that's very cool. Again, you get your 3 goblins in your quarter case. And then the last figure from our brick to show off is another guy that we've had on our want list for a long time, and that is a really kick-ass Maelstorm Giant. And so he towers over a lot of these other figures, showing you ones that not from the set. We have the female Cloud Giant. Both of these are huge. So you got big old giants. And then some of these have their own swaps.
Yeah.
So here we go.
And that spear that is curved like a bow. See, you could have her be an archer or a spear woman. That was swapped
out a little bit.
Swapped with
you've got a spear
sword
on this one, and then you've got a sword on this. The hair is fantastic. It's
looks like clouds.
Yeah, translucent.
I think as much as you can get
great
plastic
effect.
to look like a cloud.
Great effect.
And then some of the other figures that I really like in the set, we'll just put up quickly. We've got Wraith.
Cool. Yeah, that's a sweet figure.
Yep.
Again, just translucent on the inside. You can't quite appreciate
all 4 of
it.
These actually have.
So cool. All right, let's quickly.
Yeah, I'm just going to set
them
them all out at the same time.
Oh, awesome. Oh, yeah, these are great. These are sort of getting into player characters. Right.
Or prominent NPCs.
So here we have the halfling druid with a really neat spell effect and a hook staff there. Then we've got, speaking of spell effects, we've got the halfling wizard. He's really cool. He's balding.
As someone whose hair is falling out, I appreciate the
It's all about representation is important in these games. And then we have the Dwarf Sorcerer. This is, for my money, one of the best figures.
I think it looks amazing.
It's got this amazing wraparound spell casting effect in clear plastic. Absolutely love that character.
Yeah.
So you can and then here's my favorite. I have to show this off.
Yeah.
This guy I've been trying to fit in since the beginning. I think I might have even had one version of the Rise of the Rune Lord set where he was on the list, but had to cut him off.
Righteous, we almost got him in,
and then here he is. It's the Boar Demon. Look at this fat bastard. I love this guy. This thing is the last sort of old school demon that we haven't made in Pathfinder Battles. He's not even in the P2 Bestiary 1.
But this was like at the top of our wish list for all of first edition.
Oh my god.
So
I've wanted to make this figure for years and years and years. I never imagined that WizKids would do such a fantastic job. This is a huge figure. Let's just let's say he's fighting that awesome dwarf wizard. As awesome as that dwarf wizard is, she's in deep trouble when she's up against this boar demon. So this guy is legit huge. I think it's one of the best sculpts on any of the demon figures we've done.
Job on that
it's a nice mixture of horrifying and hilarious.
Disgusting.
There's like cuts you can see into his skin. I mean, that's adventurers who did that stuff, right?
Or he's just rotting.
I mean, there's that. His hygiene, he's hygienically challenged. So that's the Boar Demon. For my money, my favorite figure in the whole set.
I think so.
Just to quickly remind you, we also had what we started out with, which was the Blue Dragon. He is sweet. If you like this stockade that we've been showing the figures up against, that is from the Goblin Village premium set. Maybe we'll show that off in a future video. You can do some searches online. There's other folks who've unboxed that. It's sweet. Yeah. It's so good. There's like even just like the fence in there. I'm so super excited about it. It's like 5 or 6 different pieces. Each one's a different sculpt. You can arrange them all kinds of different ways.
And it comes with a seated version of this guy.
Right.
Who is the Goblin Chief.
Right.
So if you get him as
Let's get rid of these giants.
Yeah. So
he's so much more more impressive.
Yeah.
A removable figure, you know, and in the throne. And so somebody, I was watching Gallant Goblin, I think, and they said, why? I don't know why you need to have this seated figure. Well, it's so you can put him on the Crimson Throne, of course. You know, we've got all kinds of different seats we've done over the years. All right. So with a final salute to the Goblin King and a final thank you from Eric and Mark here at Paizo Studios, we really appreciate you guys sitting down with us. Mark, this has been tremendously fun. I'd like to do this again sometime.
If only we had another set coming out in 6 to 9 months.
And the theme of that set is, we can't say, but we will soon.
Yeah, once WizKids
says we can. So many exciting things happening coming up with WizKids. I think it's fair to say I think I've never been more excited about what's coming up with WizKids.
Oh yeah, we've had some meetings where we just leave it going. Yee!
I know. So cool. Yeah. So thank you guys. Thanks to our partners at WizKids. Thank you, Peyton, for having us here. If you guys stick around, in about 30 minutes, we are going to be launching the Crit Arena activity where
using some of these miniatures.
Using miniatures, using those Pathfinder battle cards I was talking about earlier, using all kinds of different fun accessories, giveaways, a whole crazy cast of Paizo people are going to come in and out. So I know you guys enjoy always someone, when they saw us come up, they said, I'm only used to looking at their avatars. Well, we're gonna have all kinds of people who go beyond the avatar coming up here in about 26 minutes. So from Paizo Studios, thank you guys very much. We'll catch you next time, and see you around.